Welcome to part 2 of Pokemon Mind, Body and Soul and the Cariboa region, a Pokemon region based on the Caribbean and Mexico. Now, if you haven't seen part 1 yet, I will link it down in the description for you to go and pick your starter Pokemon and check out a bunch of cool Pokemon as well. But for today, we are going to look at a lot more Pokemon, including some paradoxes, pseudo-legendary Pokemon, and of course, the legendary Pokemon and the mythicals as well. Now, all of these can be found on the Instagram of Cariboa region, the artist for today, and they are also linked in the description as well for you to go and check them out. We're going to start with Dex number 201 today because there's over 330 in the Dex. But starting with this one is Jolil, which is a Steel and Fairy type Pokemon, of course, based on a porcupine, but those little purpley bluey flecks throughout the spikes are actually Mithril. And I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so having Mithril in a Pokemon, especially a porcupine, I think works really, really well. It evolves into Nithril, and we can see that Mithril throughout the back is very, very sharp and pointed now. And knowing how rare and important and hard Mithril is, I think it's really cool to have that in a Pokemon like this. I think it's got some really crazy eyes as well, which is kind of interesting. Then next is Escaxic, which is a dragon and poison type Pokemon. This is based on a wyvern. This is just a little baby dragon at the moment, which I think looks really cute. But I think the coloring, especially in the eye, looks really, really nice here. It evolves into Venvern, which is now a full adult wyvern. We can see it's got a really large poison stinger on its tail, like a scorpion stinger, but it's obviously got that poison dripping from its mouth and all on the wings and the tail as well, which is really cool. Then next is Vanique, which is a grass and dark type Pokemon. Now this combines a possum with a burglar, and we can see that dark green marking over its eyes are kind of like a burglar's mask, but I love its tail is looking a lot like a vine, even with a couple of leaves on it as well, which is really nice. And it's holding it, it's quite long, it almost looks like it could be used as a bit of a whip. Evolving into Poscala, which is now definitely combining both the possum and the burglar really, really well. I love that little mustache that's got, its curly mustache, definitely makes it look very sneaky and very conniving, I think, along with its expression as well. The vine look on its tail is also wrapped around the wrist now as well, which is really cool. Then Crocave is next, the rock and dark type Pokemon, which is obviously based on a dark, spooky cave. It looks like it would be a really large Pokemon because it does look like it's a whole mountain, even 2 mountains really, even so high that it's got some clouds forming around it. But I think it's really interesting having those really bright pink eyes. Definitely makes it look like a very stark contrast compared to how dark and gloomy the inside of its mouth is there. The stalactites coming down looking like teeth in a way, I think is really cool too. That then evolves into Stalaster, which is now getting much, much larger. So that's got a whole mountain range on its back there with forests and trees and grass and everything. Definitely looking like a very mossy kind of cave here. We need some kind of scale, I think, because this looks like a ginormous Pokemon. Then next is Zomdino, which is a ground and ghost type Pokemon. This is definitely looking a lot like a dinosaur. You can see that skeleton forming most of the body and kind of like a gooey kind of substance as well, forming the innards of the Pokemon here. That then evolves into Stoanx, which is now looking very, very large. I love the big ghostly spirit you can see between the horns of the Pokemon there. The Dex entry for this says that that spirit on top of the horns is what is controlling the entire Pokemon. Now, this is actually based on Stoa, which is a cryptid that is theorized to be the last remaining Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus being a dinosaur that was known to be extinct a very, very long time ago, but some people believe there's another one out there called the Stoa. Then next we have Dialyn, which is a fairy and rock type Pokemon. Now, this is based on a goblin, but also lots of gemstones as well, which is very clear in this Pokemon here. Lots of rainbow colored gemstones all over its body there. It also looks really happy as well, which is very cute. What this Pokemon does is collect different gemstones to then add to its own body as well to show it off, which is really cool. It evolves into Gremgem, which is of course much larger now. It's holding a really large diamond of some sort in its hand as well. But what I do love about it is that one of its eyes almost looks like it's got one of those jeweler's magnifying glasses over it, but it's actually a gemstone itself, which I think is a really cool touch. I can imagine this Pokemon having a big rivalry with that possum burglar Pokemon we saw earlier too. Then next is Vulnerable, the fairy and ground type Pokemon. Obviously having adorable in its name, this thing is very, very cute, looking like a little bunny rabbit, but it does have really stark red eyes, which is very interesting. You might be able to guess what its evolution is based on because of those eyes. It evolves into Buralope, and as you might have guessed, it is based on a jackalope. So there's red eyes, but with those antlers coming up as well. A jackalope being like a mythical animal, kind of like a bunny and a deer together. Very cool design here. I do love the sort of muddy looks on the tips of its ears and its legs and arms as well. Next is X-Curse, which is a ghost and ice type Pokemon. Now this thing kind of looks like a Yeti, but it's actually based on a Chenu, which is a mythological beast from Native America, which is known as a cannibalistic ice giant and is very, very scary and very creepy. So this pre-evolution doesn't look too bad at the moment, but its evolution is a bit scarier. But as we can see, this thing has really large hands. Having only 2 fingers and thumbs is kind of interesting, but you can see the hair is covering its eyes as well, which gives it a bit of a cute look, I think. Bit different to its evolution now, which is definitely a lot creepier. This is called Chentia. So we can see those fingers that it's got have now got really large red claws or nails on them now, but even just its expression, and I really love those kind of symbols over its body, and its arms and its legs are really nice. Then next we have a new evolution for Behem. So LGM, Behem, and then UFO. Now this is of course based on a UFO, and I love that it looks like it's a little flying saucer. The design on the top of the saucer definitely matches the Behem with the black markings, but also the coloring all around it as well. But those lights are looking really nice, definitely giving that UFO kind of feel to it. And the way it kind of looks like it's levitating through the air, being lifted up by its giant disc-shaped head, I think works really well. It's cool that it does have a body. It's not just the head, but the body just looks like it's lifeless and floating behind as it moves, which is really nice. And then we have a new evolution for Banette. So Sharpet, Banette, and then Marisma, which is a pure ghost type Pokemon. I absolutely love this design. I think this looks so cool. This is based on a marionette puppet, as we can see with the strings and the wooden cross behind it. But I think this Pokemon looks super creepy. That zipper look over the mouth, but also on the stomach as well. Almost got like a bit of a bright yellow light or tunnel maybe in its mouth. The red eyes, the whole vibe is just very creepy. I love this design here. Then next we're going to go into a few Paradox Pokemon that the artist has created. So if you don't know, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they introduced Paradox Pokemon. They generally have a futuristic one or a primal kind of one, or a Scarlet and Violet, depending on the game that you're playing. And they're all based on a particular current Pokemon. So the first one I'll show you is Raging Current, the Dark and Electric type Pokemon, clearly based on Electros. So this is definitely looking like a primal version of Electros, looking very creepy. I absolutely love that giant paw that it's got with all the teeth on it, but just the spikes down its back and the frills, and it's overall looking very cool. I really think this is a nice design. Its description says that it rules the seas with unmatched ferocity. This definitely does look like a ferocious kind of Pokemon. Guiding Spirit is next, the ghost and flying type Pokemon. So this is obviously based from Dusclops. I think this is really cool because you've got the body of it where the eye is and the mouth, but having like a pseudo head, almost like a bird's head with wings coming out to the side as well. Looks really nice. It's definitely looking like it's trying to disguise itself there. But the red spikes down its back are really nice as well. I think this looks really cool. This Pokemon is known as a spectral guardian that guides lost travelers. So I think that's really nice. I absolutely love Feral Palm, though, the grass and dragon type Pokemon. Of course, from Tropius, we can see the bananas taking over a lot of the body here. We can see a giant bunch of bananas on its tail, but it's also coming off the neck there, and almost like a lion's mane of bananas around the head there, which is really cool. Definitely focusing on flying now. As we can see, the legs are not very long, and it's got a few wings there as well to keep it aloft. Oh, these paradoxes are just getting better and better. I absolutely love this one too. This is Wild Moor, the ground and dark type, of course, from Hippowdon. I think the dark and red coloring here looks really well, really making this Pokemon look ferocious and definitely very primitive. Those giant tusks that it's got, even like the red horn on the top of its mouth there as well, and just overall this whole vibe is very aggressive and looks really cool. Next, going into some of the futuristic Paradox Pokemon now. The first one is Iron Rampage, which is the normal and fighting type Pokemon. This is based on Slacking. Does not look as lazy as Slacking does, though. It is up on 2 feet. It is up and about. It looks like it's flexing its muscles. It's ready for battle. The dex entry for this says, legends say it was created to guard futuristic facilities with unknown threats. So it's almost like a bodyguard kind of Pokemon in a way. Iron Dream is next, which is a Psychic and Dark type, and this is a Paradox of Darkrai. The colors in this Pokemon, I think, are phenomenal. I think the kind of Aurora design here with like a starry night sky with like the reds and the purples, and it just overall looks really nice. Its dex entry says that it can manipulate the dreams around it, turning hope into despair and nightmares, which is very creepy, but very cool design here. There's a lot more Paradox Pokemon to check out. I'll just show you one more for now, but if you want to have a look at the rest, go check out Cariboa Region on Instagram. But this last one is Iron Guardian, the Psychic and Ghost type, clearly combining both Cerulege and Armor Rouge together. We can definitely see it within the colorings straight down the middle there, which I think is very cool. And it's kind of got the best of both worlds. It's got like a cannon on one arm and a sword on the other. And Cerulege is my favorite Pokemon from Gen 9, so it's really cool to see having a Paradox form as well. Now, there are 3 pseudo Pokemon within this region, and the first one is Circuit, the dragon and fairy type Pokemon. This is based on a serpent, but we can see it's got a really large red feather on the top of its head as well. Doesn't look like much yet, but usually the base forms of pseudo legendaries don't look like a lot. It evolves into Archaea, which is now getting a bit larger, and the sort of headdress design over its head is very, very prominent. The rest of the body hasn't really got a lot to it, but the face and the head definitely has a lot of detail. You may be able to guess what it's about to evolve into. And yep, the last one is Questic, clearly based on the Quetzalcoatl. The whites, reds, greens, and yellows work really well with this Pokemon here. We can see it's got really large wings, but obviously floats through the sky as well. It's got some claws now, which the pre-evolutions didn't have, but just that design, like the kind of headdress design over the face and the neck, look really, really nice. I like this one a lot. The second pseudo-legendary for the region is Charline, the ghost and dark type Pokemon. Now, this line are based on jaguars, but obviously with a very shadowy, dark design as well. This is known as the full moon Pokemon. I think those yellow eyes definitely give that vibe as well. Evolves into Phantasm. So now, obviously getting a bit larger, but that tail has become kind of interesting now. It's got like almost like a sharpened red look on the end. I also love the kind of stoic look that it's got. Looks like it's a very serious kind of Pokemon. And then lastly, it evolves into Jagnoc. So now this has definitely become a lot more aggressive. I think just an expression showing those teeth as well. That spectral kind of look coming off the feet and also the back, of course, as well. And kind of a bit of a starry look amongst there as well, which is kind of cool. And then the third pseudo-legend is Cider, the psychic and poison type Pokemon. Obviously based on a spider, but has lots of colorful elements within this as well. Even for just the base form of the pseudo-legendary, this is looking really, really dangerous. And then evolves into Halunid, and this Pokemon line focuses a lot on hallucination. So it's looking scary and creepy enough with its fangs and everything, enough as it is, let alone the hallucination side it has as well. And then its final evolution is New Rancy. Now, as well as the spider, this is also based on a Nancy, and they are a figure from Caribbean folklore known to be a trickster spider. So we've got that spider look here, but also kind of a humanoid kind of look. We can see those front legs are kind of acting like arms, and it's got a neck and a head and hair coming off as well, to give it that kind of humanoid look to match a Nancy. Very creepy design here. I think this is really cool. But let me know down in the comments what your favorite pseudo legendary is. I think mine will be the Quetzalcoatl one. Next, we're going to go into the legendary Pokemon for the region, and there are 13 legendaries in the region, and I won't have time to show them all to you today, but I will start with the box art legendaries. So we have 3 games, Pokemon Mind, Body, and Soul. So this is the box art legendary for Pokemon Mind. This is Neuromiller, the psychic and electric type Pokemon. So because it's the box art legendary for Pokemon Mind, this Pokemon is very, very wise. So of course has a bit of an owl look in there as well, because of course owls are known for being wise. The main inspiration for this though is Oren Miller, which is a deity known for their wisdom. This Pokemon is known as the guardian of knowledge and intellect and flies through the sky collecting electrical currents that it uses to enhance its psychic abilities. Then next is the box art legendary for Pokemon Body, and this is Ogitar, the fighting and steel type Pokemon. Now, of course, this is based on a Minotaur, which I think is very clear in the design of this Pokemon here, but it's also based on Ogin, which is a deity known for warfare and hunting. And I think those inspirations work perfectly for Pokemon Body, obviously showing a lot of strength and a lot of power here. It's got really large like arm shields, which have some gemstones, which look really nice. The helmet horn kind of look, looking very metallic and very dangerous. Really cool, but also looking really strong as well. The Dex entry says that it has perfect mastery over every martial art, and warriors from across the land seek this Pokemon out as the ultimate test of strength. And then the last box art legendary is Mixler, the ghost and dragon type Pokemon. Of course, the box art legendary for Pokemon Soul. I think this looks absolutely phenomenal. Those wings or the shadowy aspects coming out look really, really nice, and that gold-plated armor and the horns on his head look really, really cool. Now, this is based on, I'm about to butcher this, I'm sorry. It's based on Mictlantecuhtli, which is known as the Aztec god of death, and I think that fits this design really, really well. This looks super cool. It's really hard for me to choose my favorite out of the 3 box art legendaries, but I think I'm going to have to go with Mixler, so I'm going to choose Pokemon Soul. Again, let me know in the comments which one you're going to pick. A couple more legendaries I want to show you though before we get to the mythicals. So we have a Hulzor, which is a water and ground type Pokemon. Now this is based on the Huitzol, which is a mythological animal from Mexican folklore, which is very, very creepy. Kind of like a panther with a giant claw coming out of its tail. And I think we can see that in the design here as well. That really long, slender black tail with a really large claw at the end of it there, which looks really nice. But kind of like the spiky look down its back and those yellow piercing eyes definitely match it really well. This is a very creepy kind of design, I think. And another legendary is Desimera, which is a fire and ice type Pokemon. Now this is based on the Chimera, which I think we can see in the design here because the fiery side is kind of like the lion's head. We've got the goat look, especially with the horns on the ice side, but then we've got the snake tail as well with its fiery tongue sticking out. Really cool mix of fire and ice here. Works really well for a Chimera Pokemon, I think. Now, next I'm going to show you both of the mythicals that are in the region. So the first one is Nymora, the fairy and ice type Pokemon. I think this looks really nice. I think the spectrum of colors along the dress here looks really, really cool. And it's kind of got that icy snowstorm kind of look, or the vibe that I'm getting. This is combining a nymph with the Aurora as well. And I think that icy look with the Aurora definitely works here. The dex entry for this says that Nymora appears during clear winter nights, dancing gracefully across the sky and painting the heavens with vibrant colors. And I think that sounds really nice. I can definitely see that Pokemon doing this, spreading a whole wealth of colors amongst the sky. And then the second mythical Pokemon is Amplura, the bug and rock type Pokemon. Now this is based on an Arthroplura, which is like a giant prehistoric millipede. And I think this looks really, really nice as well. The way the body kind of curves around those fiery orbs that it's holding is really, really interesting. I do love the green rocky eyes that's got as well and the spikes along the entire body. This Pokemon is known to be extinct for many, many years, but people believe that it's still out there whenever the earth trembles. It's tightly holding onto two immense amber orbs, and legends say these orbs store ancient life energy, which fuels its extraordinary power. I've loved going through the rest of the Cariboa region with you guys, and here's some of my favorites from today's video. If you haven't yet, check out part 1 of the Cariboa region, or check out this playlist with a lot more Fakemon regions as well. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one.